I mocked him at girls' night for never satisfying me. Now he sleeps in another room. Hi, Reddit. My name is Laurel, and I'm 26 years old. I'm still married as at the time of this post, but I'm not sure how much longer before my time runs out. Right now, my husband and I are not on talking terms just because I made a silly comment concerning our sex life. It was just a joke that he wasn't supposed to hear. Chris and I met about 2 years ago through mutual friends. He was strikingly handsome, and all my other friends had eyes for him, but somehow he was attracted to me and not them. We clicked and started dating. It was all fun, but I was reluctant at first because I'd always had commitment issues. Sticking to one person had never really been my thing. Even in my past relationships, I was never fully in. In some cases, I even ended up asking for an open relationship, which always ended up ruining the whole thing. So before Chris, I had been single for more than 2 years. Doesn't mean I wasn't getting laid, though. And when Chris asked me out, I told him I was going to think about it because I really didn't want to be tied up in the name of any relationship. But he was so fine, and I knew my friends would kill me if I turned him down. When I told them about it, they said I must say yes, and that if I was scared of the commitment part, I could tell him my condition for agreeing was an open relationship. He was head over heels for me at the time, so I knew the chances of him refusing the offer were very slim. We started dating, and it was going really well for me. I had someone to call my own, yet I still had so many others to do for me as I pleased. And I wasn't working. I always believed that it was a man's duty to provide for a woman, and that had been working for me so far. I never had to lift a finger. About 6 months into our relationship, he started acting out. I assume he wasn't comfortable with the whole open relationship idea from the start, but he was the one that agreed to it and didn't force it on him. And at least in the beginning, he hid his jealousy. But even then, my friends would tell me that they didn't understand what pleasure I derived from seeing other men that Chris didn't already offer. But that was just the life I was used to. Such habits don't just die overnight. After about a year, I don't know if it was due to his feelings of insecurity, or he sincerely wanted to get married to me, but Cheers asked me to marry him. The proposal was grand and all our friends were there, but I really wanted to turn him down. I mean, I could barely hold a relationship. So how was I supposed to enter a lifetime commitment? However, I couldn't say no because I didn't want him to feel embarrassed in that crowd. So I said yes, and my friends hosted a mini girls-only surprise party to celebrate my engagement. But that's when I told them that I didn't think I was ready, and so I was going to return the ring. If I wasn't their friend, they probably would have beat me to stupor that day. But I stood by my decision and told them I wouldn't do it. They kept pestering me to just accept it and thank them later, but then one of my friends decided to make it interesting and said she bet on her $1 million Chanel bag that I couldn't keep my legs closed to outsiders for even up to 6 months of marriage. That felt a little insulting. It was like she was calling me a slut without directly doing so, but she was probably right that 6 months was too much. It was hell, actually. I decided to go on with the marriage anyway. Chris was ever loving and supportive and kind and giving in to my every whim. Whatever I wanted, he got for me as far as he could afford it, and if he couldn't, he worked towards it. It was a stable marriage overall. Bills were paid on time, sex was great, husband was working really hard for us, and there were no kids to cause nuisance around the house. I personally took care of that. Chris always talked about how he wanted kids he could call his own, a ball to play soccer with, a girl to replace me, something I definitely wouldn't want. But the bottom line is, he wanted kids, and I didn't. However, I didn't want to shatter him by telling him that. So I acted like I wanted kids too. But the 2 times I got pregnant, I aborted the pregnancies as soon as I found out. And I didn't tell him. We kept going for checkups occasionally, but the doctor kept saying nothing seemed to be wrong with either of us. Chris never pressured me to get pregnant or anything. He was quite patient and consoled me instead. Like I said, sex with Chris was great, but I was really getting tired of being with only him. The thing is, I wasn't even working, so I got bored easily. My friends were there, but I couldn't keep going to them every single time I was bored. I tried to find hobbies that would maybe take my mind off some really crazy ideas I was having. I tried gardening, reading books, and even knitting, but they were just so boring. Then I started gymming. The truth is, I knew going to the gym would open a whole new chapter for me. 'Cause I wouldn't in my right senses want to lose some weight or gain some muscles. I like my structure the way it is. I knew there'd be really fine and hot men there, so I thought if I couldn't engage physically, I could at least feed my eyes, and if it went beyond that, then so be it. This was only 3 months into my marriage, and I had already slept with half the men at the gym, different shapes and sizes. In fact, it became a routine. It was almost like there was a timetable for everyone. On Monday, I slept with X, Tuesday Y. The week runs out and the cycle starts all over. And thankfully, they all knew it was just cruise, nothing deep. We all had people we were committed to, but just decided to have fun among ourselves. Sometimes we even did threesomes, but it was all really more like exercising. I think Chris didn't notice anything because he was always out for work by the time I went to the gym, so he wasn't a problem, except I started getting less interested in sleeping with him, because by the time he came back from work most days, I'd already had like 3 to 4 rounds of sex, so I wasn't really horny. Everything just became boring. The great sex with him became not so great. He stopped interesting me at all, and in fact, whenever we managed to have sex, I wasn't even satisfied. He tried everything, romantic gestures, vacations, princess treatments, but nothing was working, and we both knew it. I had just lost interest completely, and I doubt there's any coming back from that. One time, he had to ask me if everything was okay with me, with us, and I was like, what could possibly be wrong? Not long after, we started drifting away from each other. When he was in the mood, I wasn't, and I wasn't really ever in the mood for him. Our sex life went down to once or 0 a week. It was almost like we were strangers living under the same roof and sleeping in the same bed. We started seeing a therapist on Chris's request, of course, and by that time we were barely a year into our marriage. Chris was really eager to save us. He never missed a session, was never late either, and he was very cooperative. I, on the other hand, was the opposite because I was never really in for the whole therapy thing. Eventually, that was over. And in case you were wondering, no, it didn't help. I'd been avoiding going out with my friends for a while because I was afraid I would spill information about my affairs at the gym. But I missed them. Couldn't run away forever now, could I? So I went on one of our girls' nights, and of course I couldn't just keep my mouth shut. I told my friend, the one with the Chanel bag, that the deal was off dot, that she was right, I couldn't do it. And it was so much easier in my head. They all burst into laughter and made snide comments about how they knew I could never change. That's when I told them that I may actually not have been the problem. I told them that Chris may have been handsome, but he wasn't a 10 in bed. I told them that he had not once satisfied me, and so I couldn't put up with that for too long. This is just a summary of what I said, but I actually lamented a lot. It was like it had been weighing down my heart all along, and I finally got to spit it all out. My friends just looked at me as I spoke, and even after, they barely said a word. The supposed girls' night didn't last very long after that. We all went home. Chris was fast asleep when I got home. He had never been one to stay up and wait for me to return from any of my outings. I joined him as soon as I got into the room because I was so exhausted. The next day, he started acting strange. I didn't feel the usual peck he gave me on my cheek before going to work. And when I went to the gym, in fact, throughout the day, I didn't get his usual texts asking me how my day went. No call either. Since he noticed we were getting distant, he started having flowers delivered to me at home every single day with a card that said something like, "Have a lovely day, wifey." Cliché, I know, but I came to discover only after that coupled with the other little gestures made my day. The first day it happened, or rather didn't happen, I wanted to excuse him with the assumption that he was very, very busy at work. But he came back that night and didn't speak to me. Obviously no hugs and kisses either. He was just there. Actually, he wasn't. He moved rooms. He just undressed in our room, then went to the guest room and crashed there. It's been days now, and he's still not talking to me. Even when I talk to him first, he doesn't reply to me. The bed we used to share now seems way too big for me. And suddenly, I've started losing interest in the gym guys. I'm more worried that my husband isn't interested in me anymore. I kind of felt like I was getting unattractive. So I tried putting on tight short dresses to serve him dinner when he got back home, but he doesn't even eat dinner anymore, so I barely got a glance. During the weekend, I put on a bikini and went to the pool, because I knew that was his routine. But the moment he came out in his shorts and towel and found me in the water, he went back inside and never came out. This is not something I'd usually be worried about, but I'm worried as hell that I'm losing my husband. I confronted him concerning his recent behavior 2 days ago, but he still said nothing. So I phoned our therapist and told him about the silent treatment I'd been receiving from Chris. Luckily, the two are friends, so he called him to the office yesterday and had a talk with him. I had a session with him earlier today, and he told me that my husband feels like he's not good enough for me and could never be. I was confused as to why he would think that all of a sudden, so he clarified my confusion. Somehow, some way, Chris had heard about what I said the other night when I was out with my friends, and now he just won't speak to me or even bother sleeping in the same room as me. I really don't know what to do. I may be an ass, but I love this man very much and wouldn't want to lose him for the world. What should I do? I'm not sure I can ask my friends for help, as I feel it was one of them who snitched on me and told Chris everything. Please help me save my marriage. Update. Hello guys, it's me again. So nothing has changed in my favor just yet. In fact, they've gotten really worse. So I found out somehow that it was really one of my friends who snitched on me. I was so tired of the silent treatment that Chris was giving me that I confronted him again and refused to leave his side until I got an answer. But I still didn't get a response. But his phone did ring, and he was talking to someone and flirting. And I was totally confused. Like, since when did he flirt outside? I couldn't believe it, and the fact that he acted like I wasn't right there in front of him made it worse. The next minute, he drove out of the house. I spent all day thinking, how bad was it that he had to completely change his attitude towards me? I wasn't even doing anything wrong anymore. I quit the gym, became the full stay-at-home wife I was supposed to be, cooked his meals, did house chores, waited sexily for him in bed, but he never noticed any of it. It was all so frustrating. One day I got the opportunity to go through his phone, and I found it. It was a voice recording a close friend of mine sent him, and it was my voice in it from that night. After that, I saw pictures of me at the gym, hugging and kissing different dudes. And the next texts were intimate. Oh, and before that, she said stuff like she knew he was always too good for me, that he deserved someone better, and she'd always had a crush on him and stuff like that. He wasn't interested in her at first, like at all. And despite the fact that it was clearly my voice in the recording, he didn't want to believe her. He said there was no way I could have said such a thing or cheated like I claimed I did. But she kept pressing on, said she could bring evidence if he wanted, and then came the pictures around midday. He was probably at work by that time. And that explains why he didn't speak to me or sleep in the same bed as me ever since he came back that day. But I think that was very cowardly of him. I may have acted like a bitch by whoring around like that, but we could have talked the issue out. The moment Jane texted him, he should have come to him like the man he's supposed to be, not ignore me for an entire 2 weeks only to hook up with my friend after. It's all just messed up. At least I didn't cheat on him with a friend. He crossed a line right there. They both did. I confronted Jane, but she wasn't even the least sorry for what she did. She said I was no good for Chris and he deserved someone better. I wasn't trying to assume that by someone better she was referring to herself, because she is 10 times worse than I am. She could hook up with an entire circle of friends and not have the slightest care in the world. Hell, she even slept with men way older than herself, just for the luxury they offered. Isn't that prostitution? Come on. I'm way better than her in all ramifications. I told her Chris would never be with her, and he'll definitely never pick her over me. This is just a phase he's going through, but I love him more than he knows it. I just don't know why it took me this long to realize that. But I'm going to win him back, for real, and at all costs. Also, I'm going to try and work on myself. In fact, I've already started. Like I said, I don't go to the gym anymore. I don't even reply to their texts. What I really want now is for my marriage to work out. Because the fact that my husband treats me like I'm some kind of stranger in my own home really scares me. I mean, who knows what he's been doing behind the scenes? God forbid, but what is arranging for a divorce or something. I don't even want to think that he wants to replace me with that bitch. I might survive a divorce, but I don't know what I'd do if he goes out with Jane. I mean, what if they've already started? What am I even saying? I know they've started already. I'm just hoping now that it won't last, or that at least I'll win him back before they get there. So you guys, I need help. How do I win my man back? Update 2. Hello guys, it's me again. At this point, I think I should just give up because my life is pretty much ruined already. I'll start from the end. Chris has moved out, and that shouldn't really be a problem because at least he didn't leave me homeless. But it's almost as bad as being homeless because I have no source of income. How did he expect me to pay the bills and stuff like that? It's been less than a month. and I've sold almost everything of value in the house just to meet up with my needs. I've not even thought about how to pay the bills by the time the month runs out. I am so doomed. So as it turned out, my worst fear came true. Chris really was silently working on a divorce all this while. I called him a coward and shit, but he knew what he was doing. He probably didn't bother to confront me because he knew deep down that it was all true. I can't believe all this while I was left in the shadows. And yes, he did start seeing Jane officially after our divorce. And trust Jane, she didn't hesitate to flaunt him around and rub it in my face. She posted pictures of them on all her socials, and sometimes even went as far as bringing them to my DM. And of course, there was nothing I could do about it. He wasn't mine anymore, and I'd lost my chance with him. But somehow, I knew Jane didn't have that much of a chance either. No matter what skin she wore, she'd always be a whore. And it didn't take very long before her skin shedded. Chris probably found out just what kind of girl she was and dumped her, because I stopped seeing posts of them together, not on his page and not on hers either. At least one thing worked out in my favor. Also, Jane has been evicted from our clique. She broke the code. No matter what, no girl should go after their girl's man. At first, she didn't care about the fact that we no longer wanted to hang with her, probably because she still had Chris by her side. But when they broke up, she came back begging to be one of us again. And as you must have expected, we didn't give her a chance. I finally blocked her because I don't see any use still having her on my contact list anymore. But I can't bring myself to move on from Chris. I still stalk him as far as I can. Even though I know that I'm probably never going to see him again, at least I can watch from a distance. I think I might be moving out soon. Probably give the house out for rent or something. Bet my sister wouldn't mind me staying with her until I get my shit together. Also, I forgot to mention. Not that it would matter to you guys, but Chris also stopped funding my account. I'm sure he made that decision way before the divorce, but I guess I just didn't notice yet because the silent treatment phase was mid-month, not the end. And he also closed the joint account, which was never really joint, because he funded and I squandered. Do you guys think I should get a job at this point? Because I'm really considering it this time. And as for dating, I think I'm going to put that on hold, because the truth is, I'm not really interested in that kind of stuff anymore. Anyway, thank you guys for reading with me till the end. The past month has really been a trying one for me, and I'm just glad I had people to share it with, despite the criticism I got and probably would still get. I'm assuming they're all just corrections, though, so don't worry, I won't take them to heart. This is likely my last post. So, bye forever, guys. Edit. You guys are probably really tired of me at this point. It's been 2 years since I posted about my failed marriage here. Well, I have good news. I took you guys' advice to stop whoring around and get a job. Yeah, and it's been great so far. My job is comfortable. I decided to move on completely, and so I sold the house, got a new apartment, and I'm even seeing someone currently. So I guess you can say I'm good now. I don't have the time nor the energy to reply to every single one of your messages, but thank you all for your support and criticism. God bless you all. Oh, and in case you didn't notice, I go to church now. LOL.